Good morning. What I'd like to do this morning is have a look at the presentation by Donald Trump on Friday, which was actually said to be notable by its non-mention of the impeachment and also the fact that it denounced the riots. Now, at the risk of you thinking that I go around all day saying Paul is dead, Paul is dead, I actually hear something different in this presentation. And what I'd like to do is explain what it is that I hear. Well, first of all, this presentation, and I have the connection here for you. Let me just click that again in the comments. Great. And so you can watch it at any time. It's 1 minute, 38 seconds. First of all, this is a formal presentation. And how do we know that? He sits with his hands clenched. Now, he doesn't normally that. And at some stages he breaks out, but he sits with his hands clenched, and that for Donald says this is a formal presentation. And I believe that this presentation was something that he spoke from a written word, but something that he had a hand in writing. Now, how do we know when Donald is reading and not just making it up? Well, he actually speaks in a monotone. He begins to speak in a monotone, and when he gets to the end of the sentence, it is just monotone. Or he will do something where he will go up at the end of a sentence, he'll do the wrong intonation. Or at the end of a sentence, he runs out of air. He just runs out of air. So that's how you know when he's reading. They're the things that he does. But how we know that he actually had a hand in writing it is because of the words. And he actually has a kind of a cult speak. When Donald speaks, there are characters. And there is a movement. The movement is the Make America Great movement. And the followers, those who follow him specifically, they're often called true believers, true supporters. There's an enemy. The enemy is the media. And he can have no negative against his name. So the fact that he didn't mention the impeachment is not extraordinary, because that would have been something negative against his name, which he wouldn't have been happy with. He always speaks in the rhythm of three. Now, this is a fantastic technique because it builds credibility. He talks about, let me see, think of ways to erase tensions, calm tempers, and help to promote peace. He talks about calm, moderation, and grace. Now, this technique very much heightens the credibility. And I was watching one of his sons presenting, and he does the same thing. And he said, Donald has always taught me about honesty, integrity, and values. And you listen to that and you think, yeah, okay, that sounds okay. But it's not. Honesty, integrity are values. So it doesn't make sense to say honesty, integrity, and values. That would be a little bit like saying shoes and socks and footwear. Anyway, it all sounds great when it's done in the rhythm of three. He also will do whole kind of repeat patterns in three. So he'll say, no true supporter of mine could ever endorse political violence. No true supporter of mine could ever disrespect law enforcement. No true supporter of mine threatens or harasses fellow Americans. Right, so they're very important. Other weighting that he uses in his speech are the universal quantifiers. So he does talk about everyone who has ever, or every American, or all of us, and some of us, all of us. And then he has the branding behind him with the flags. And extraordinary in this case, he actually has photos which look like family photos behind him. Now, this is what we talk about as his branding behind him. His backdrop is his branding. And he does talk at the end, for the good of our families. Excuse me. Now, his body language. His body language throughout this presentation is racked with anger and aggression. So in the very beginning, he puffs out his chest. He goes, my fellow Americans. And after that, it becomes essence of Trump. Essence of Trump is where he puts his head to the right, but he tilts it forward like that. And then it becomes very stiff. But what he does is he just moves his mouth, and there is a lot of lip action. And he'll say, I want to be very clear. And then he leaves his mouth open like that. It's very extraordinary. He says violence and vandalism have absolutely no place in our country. And it's set with that head to the right, forward, and just the lips moving. What are the hidden messages? He lets his true believers know that there will be rallies. They'll be in Washington and all over the state. And he tells us that the US Secret Service has told him that this will happen. He tells us that the National Guard will be there and the hidden messages be prepared. He tells us, from his 1 minute 38, every American deserves to have their voice heard. You are not to be silenced. All of us can choose to rise. Today, I'm calling on all Americans. Join together as one American people. So I am not hearing that he is denouncing the riots. I'm not hearing that. It's extraordinary in the fact that he doesn't mention the impeachment. I'm hearing that he's told you as a believer, he's speaking to the believers. They know that they are part of the character set. They know they're part of the family. They know the rules of engagement. They know the situation. They know where it will happen. They know to be prepared, and they know that they have his blessing. I believe it's not a condemnation of the riots, and I don't think it's incitement to riot. It is, however, a support to prepare and take the movement forward. Love to hear your thoughts.